of their contract. Oh, there we go. Sorry, got to make sure we record it. So when we put it on YouTube, you have something to listen to. So everybody's got a copy and has had a chance to read through the contract. And you guys must all be super whiz dog owners because normally in one litter, we have about 20 to 30 questions from people, and we don't have a single one from any one of you. So obviously you guys already know everything and there's not much I need to tell you. So if something comes up while we're talking, make sure you put your hand up. So the first thing I just want to say about your contract is what we recommend and we find has worked best for our families is if you take that contract with you when you go to your vet. Mostly what you want to show your vet is Schedule D. That is the vaccination, warmer, and flea and tick form. So you want your vet to be able to have a chance to read through that and understand that if those things are not followed, that your health warranty is going to be voided. So the primary aspect of that is not giving the puppies a lot of vaccinations all at once. There's lots of research to indicate that does not work well in terms of efficacy for the vaccinations, but also because in general, it exposes your puppy to too many things at once and it's too hard on their system, especially when they're little, they're still developing their immune system. So that's the primary reason that we do that. Everything that's in your contract has been done in consultation with both a lawyer and also with a repro vet specialist and our regular vet, who is a breeder specialized vet. So everything's been designed to make it as easy for you, and with the first emphasis being, of course, on the puppy's well-being and their health. And sometimes you'll find vets will ask you, well, why is there a requirement that you do a titer test at week 20? And the reason why we do that, the titer test is a simple blood draw that checks whether or not your dog has immunity from the vaccines. Because your dog comes with maternal antibodies, that's what protects them when they're infants. And when you get the vaccinations, they are in essence destroying those natural antibodies, which are beginning to wear off anyways, they're not lifelong, and replacing them with vaccinations. So sometimes the maternal antibodies can be so robust that all that happens when your dog gets vaccinated is the two cancel each other out. So that's why we do the titer test, and we wait until 20 weeks because we don't want to get a false positive or a false negative close after the time that your puppy receives their final set of shots. So we wait for 4 weeks after those final shots, and then we do the titer test, and that will confirm that your puppy has immunity. And then after that, you don't need to do another one for another 3 years. Everything except for a rabies vaccine in the core vaccines is good for 3 years. Hey, no jumping onto that fruit. So that's what that's in there for, in case your vet asks you. Your puppy's going to go home with a clear fecal. We don't release puppies who do not have a clear fecal, so they will not be requiring to be wormed. Lots of vets suggest that you should worm your dog regularly. That is actually not true unless you are living in a location where there's heartworm. There's no heartworm in British Columbia. You do not need to protect your dog from heartworm in British Columbia. If you're traveling to the United States, which is of course almost impossible with a dog right now, or if you're going to Ontario, then get in touch with me and I'll let you know what you need to do. But basically all you need to do is give your dog Revolution, which is approved, it's on your contract. Revolution protects against fleas and it also protects your dog from heartworm. So any dog that's on Revolution is protected from heartworm. Your dogs don't otherwise need to be wormed because worming them does not prevent worms other than heartworm. It merely eliminates worms if they have them. So other than giving your vet some revenue, worming your dog when they don't have worms is not something you need to be doing and it's not good for your dog. Anybody got any questions on any of that? Yeah, go on ahead there, Anne-Marie. You just have to unmute yourself first.
Well, we're so technically apt, what can I say? What about ticks?
Okay, so for ticks, what we have in there and what comes in your puppy starter kit is a natural protection for ticks. The main thing that we want to avoid here is neck guards and Paracatrio, Brevecto. Those are the things that your vet sells and are going to suggest you use for ticks. Yes, they are highly effective. However, the reason why they're highly effective is because they also pose a significant risk to your dog's health. About 25% of dogs have a permanent neurological disability when they take these drugs. About 5 to 7% of dogs who take them die. That risk reward is acceptable within the veterinary community. It's not acceptable to me for my puppies. And it does invalidate your contract because many of the things that are side effects from these drugs are things that are also similar in how they present, particularly to EIC, which is one of the things your dog is guaranteed to not have. So that's one of the reasons why we exclude that in our contract, but it's mostly to protect the puppy's overall health. When Brevecto and NexGard first came out, we used it. We thought, oh, yay, this is terrific because we have hundreds and hundreds of fleas on our not fleas, ticks on our property. So we were really excited about it. We ended up with 2 dogs who had very minor side effects, but still got sick. But we had 3 litters with moms who were on it, and in all 3 litters, we had severe birth defects and puppies that were dying. So that made us look into it a little bit further. And as the product was in use for a little bit longer, all the evidence became more clear that it actually was fairly significantly harmful potentially to dogs. There is a full FDA warning on every package that advises of that. You can Google it, but I advise you, unless you have a very strong stomach, do not Google what happens to dogs who take it. It's incredibly upsetting to watch. It's really horrific and it's not something you ever want your puppy to go through. So you have to be vigilant, check your dog and use the natural sprays. The natural stuff is helpful. It is not 100% by any means, but it's probably about 90% effective. When we spray our dogs here during the heavy tick periods, we usually end up with maybe 2 ticks on out of the 3 dogs for the entire time. So it's not a lot, but you do want to make sure that you are checking your dog each time for it. They're really easy to remove. They're gross little creatures, but they're easy to remove. And you just make sure you flush them down the toilet. Fortunately, in British Columbia, the ticks we have, very few of them have any serious health implications. So if your dog gets one, it's not the end of the world. Ripple Spirit and Peanut have all had many ticks and nothing has come of them. Any questions on that? Nope, we're all good for that. So that covers most of the things I want to talk to your vet about. If you happen to have a vet who is not up to date in terms of nutrition, you may have a vet who gives you a lot of pushback about eating a raw diet. In fact, Sophie had this happen with the first vet that they went to. They ended up changing vets as a result. But basically, there's no point in arguing with your vet or anybody who has different ideas. It's a very polarizing subject. People tend to get all excited about it. It's a bit like talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So it's best not to discuss it. Just tell them that what you are feeding is a commercially prepared, fully balanced food, that your breeder is a canine nutritionist, and leave it at that. And they'll tell you things and you can say, yeah, okay, thank you, appreciate the information, and then move along with it. What vets see is people who are doing their own preparation of raw food diet. So people are making their own food at home. Those are almost always incorrect, unbalanced, and those are the ones that lead to dogs having issues. And there are also lots of junk raw dog foods on the diet, just like there's lots of junk kibble. It's like You're not gonna feed your dog kibble and bits if you are feeding a half decent kibble diet. And there's lots of kibble and bit equivalents in the raw food world as well. So that's why we have very specific brands that are listed in your contract. Because having gone through probably the exhaustive list of all of them, we know which ones are okay and which ones are not okay. Canine nutrition is an ever evolving subject. 5 years ago, what we knew was far less than what we know now. 5 years ago, the manufacturers were doing things much differently than they are now. One common myth about raw food is, oh my goodness, if you are immune compromised or if you have a young child, that everybody's gonna die because it's just so full of bacteria. So when you go buy some chicken from the grocery store, it is absolutely crawling in bacteria. But it's okay because we cook our chicken. We do not eat our chicken raw, at least I don't. Most of you, I'm sure, don't either. When you go open a package of frozen raw dog food, if you had it tested, there would be absolutely zero bacteria. And the reason for this is because the brands that we have chosen all use a process called high pressure pasteurization, which is HPP for short. And what that does is it kills all the bacteria. Unfortunately, it also destroys all the good bacteria that's in the food. So that's why we add probiotics back into our dog's food, because the process that's mandated to keep the food safe is remove some of the things that the dogs need for their gut flora to remain healthy. So it is not true whatsoever that you're going to die if you touch raw dog food. All of our grandchildren have grown up with it. My son grew up with it because I started feeding it in 1981. I have done it my whole life. Taylor is happy to share with you that she is quite immune compromised. My mom lived with us until she was 91. She was severely immune compromised. We all handle dogs that ate raw food and the raw food, and we're all here to tell you that we're perfectly fine. So please don't let anybody scare you or give you the misinformation that is dangerous. And the freeze-dried raw comes with zero bacteria as well, because the freeze-drying process kills all the bacteria, but keeps all of the beneficial nutrition there. So anybody got any questions about that? Just before we move on, I'll just stay on nutrition since we kind of segued into that. So the food box, we do a food box for every litter. We've been doing that for quite some time. And we do that mostly because nobody is familiar with raw food. Now Kat's getting her second puppy, Kathy's getting her third puppy from us, Michelle's getting her second puppy with us. So they all are familiar with raw food, but most of you are not. So the food box will have everything organized properly, rotated, and it will come with complete instructions on how to handle it, how to store it, how to prepare it, how to feed it, how to make the meals. Everything will be in there, and so that you get it, you understand how to use it, and then going forward, it will be easy for you. We always provide you with help for your second, third, fourth, I don't care what order number it is, to help you going forward. Jonathan, you've got a question. Go ahead.
Hi, we were wondering about how often do we have to feed Finnegan, and how many times a day?
Okay, so that will also all be included in your food box information, but the puppies do eat 3 times a day until they're around 6 months. Some puppies will decide they don't want lunch when they're 4 months. Some puppies will decide they don't want lunch when they're 7 months. But generally speaking, around 6 months is when they say that lunch is boring and I would like to have 2 meals a day. There'll also be a table in there that shows you how to calculate how much. And when they go home, I'll tell you how much each of your puppies is eating per day. So it'll have everything will be all laid out in your food box there. And you can decide if you want a 1 month or a 2 month supply. If you don't live where we deliver to on the island here, I will, all the brands we have are readily available on the lower mainland and other provinces. So I'll tell you the stores that we're familiar with. you live on the lower mainland, they will deliver right to your door. If you live on the island here, once a month, we deliver for free up and down the island to a central location. If you go to all freeze dried, we're going to tell you to wait till your puppy is about 4 months to do that. Cause when they're this little, they prefer the frozen raw. So you want to gradually transition into a full freeze dried. And if you do that, we can send everything to you because we have everything in freeze dried format. And that we can put in the mail. Canada Post just won't let us send anything frozen. Anybody got any questions on that? Jeremy?
I'm just curious, how much freezer space do we need to make for this?
Not a lot, because raw food is so bioavailable and concentrated. You don't need to feed your dog anywhere near as much as you would, like a bag of kibble. So if you are getting a month's supply for your puppy, for Rosie, you're going to be looking at needing about, what would that be in dimensions, Ronald?
If it's 1 month, the frozen is in a 10 by 8 by 6 box. If it's a 2 month, then it's a bigger box.
So that gives you an idea. I don't know how many cubic, whatchamacallits it is. I can tell you by visually, but anyways, it's not very much. You don't have to go buy a freezer or anything like that. In a condo, if you've got a regular size fridge with a freezer on top or below on your fridge, you will readily be able to keep a 1 month supply in there. Anybody else got any questions on the food there? No, everybody's good on that? All right. Oh, so my list of everything we're talking about has now been eaten.
So the meeting's over, goodbye.
Yeah, not good. I don't know what else to talk about. Kidding. The other thing that we want to talk about is sleeping, exercise, and the X pen and the crate. So we're going to start with exercise. The one thing we want to remember when we're exercising the puppies is repetitive exercise is problematic for young dogs because their bones don't touch yet and their joints are not all formed. So hip dysplasia, which of course your moms and dads are all tested for, is about 20 to 30% genetic in dogs, which is why we test for it. But the bulk of hip dysplasia comes from environmental causes, not having the right bed for your dog to sleep in, or giving them too much exercise. Those are the two main causes of hip dysplasia. These guys are all under 60 pounds, so they're at slightly less risk, which is nice for you. But the first thing you're going to want to remember is don't let your puppy go up and down the stairs before they're 6 months old. You want to carry them up and down the stairs. And you don't want to be going for walks that are longer than 15 minutes. The general rule of thumb is 5 minutes per month that your dog is old. Your dog's not going to be 3 months old, obviously, when they go home to you, but 15 minutes is okay. And you can go 3 times a day. You just don't want to go for long periods. And ideally, when you do take them out, you vary the pace of the walk. You let them walk really fast for a bit, stop, then you maybe go a little slower. If you're lucky and you live somewhere where you can get off of pavement, even better. Natural terrain, of course, is always better. And when you're outside in the backyard, or if you're doing a play date and your puppy's roaring around with another puppy or an adult dog, you don't have to worry about timing that or monitoring that. They'll pace themselves naturally. So that's the best way for them to get their beans out, if you will. Another thing to keep in mind is for dogs, their whole lives are, all their information that matters to them come through their noses. Most of our entertainment and our intellect and everything comes from our eyes. So we read, we watch movies, we watch TV, da. Dogs smell things, especially bums. Bums are really good to smell. So when you take your dog out, if you let them sniff around for 15 minutes, that is the equivalent of 45 minutes of physical activity in terms of enriching your dog's day, in terms of getting your dog tired out. in terms of emotional fulfillment for your dog. So it's more important when you go for a walk to remember to let your dog go in a zigzag. Don't walk right beside you, go wherever they want, sniff, start, stop, all the things that most of us find frustrating. Because when we take our dog for a walk, we tend to think our goal is to go and we want to exercise ourselves and our dogs. And we get annoyed when they don't walk right beside us, or if they want to pee on everything or sniff everything. But that's what gives your dog a happy, fulfilled life. So I always suggest what works for me is I go on the way out, if the dogs walk, and then on the way back, I ask the dog to walk beside me and have some manner and use that as some training time. It doesn't matter that Ripple is 7 years old, she still does this and she won't walk right beside me unless I actually ask her to. Spirit, on the other hand, never leaves my side. She has zero interest in sniffing anything. All she wants to do is be right next to me and be there to look after me. So each dog is slightly different. You have to keep that in mind. But puppies particularly like to scamper all over the place and, you know, they go here and there. So don't worry about making them behave. Just worry about letting them enjoy that time out there and sniffing stuff. Marcia, did you have a question or are you okay? Where did Marcia go?
I don't know.
Oh, we lost Marcia. Marcia had her hand up and then she disappeared. Okay, moving on. That brings me to where is it safe to take your dog? Where can you take your dog out for a walk? So generally speaking, you usually know your neighborhood enough that you know where a lot of dogs are going to congregate. If you live in a condo and you happen to have a dog area, that's something you want to avoid. Dog parks definitely are a no-no. You just want to avoid areas where there's a large concentration of dogs you don't know. In your own general neighborhood, if you know your neighbors, they have dogs, you're probably going to be reasonably safe. You can't have your dog be in a bubble because letting them get out and about is just as important as their vaccinations. So you just have to use some common sense and realize that you don't take your dog to a dog park, you don't go to a pet relief station, for instance, if you're at the ferry, when you're taking your puppy home, those types of things. Is it important that dogs they mingle with are vaccinated? Yes, but just like us, dogs can shed disease even though they themselves are protected by vaccines. So what you really want to do is if you're having a play date or something, ask the people, where's your dog been? Have they been to the vet, the groomer, daycare, boarding? Those are the main places you want to know if they've been to, or a dog park. If they've been to any of those places, then the best thing is to have your puppy not interact with that dog. Because that's where they're going to pick something up that they could potentially pass on to your puppy. The other thing is in your puppy starter kit, you're going to have the wipes. Use those to wipe your dog's feet off after you've been out. Is it 100% of protection? Absolutely not. Does it help mitigate the risk? Yes, to a small degree. Marcia, you've got a question.
Yeah, it was regarding the walking and saying, you know, if they're not right beside you, let them sniff, which we like to. But I also noticed in the contract, you say no retractable leashes. And I'm wondering what your thought is on that and why.
So retractable leashes are one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment for you and your dog. They break, and when your dog hits the end of it, you jerk your dog back with so much force that it causes physical harm to them, particularly when they're young. Retractable leashes for people, they break and sever more fingers than anything else. If you go to emergency and ask what most severed fingers come from that aren't on the job accidents, they're from retractable leashes. They are the worst thing for your puppy. So what you want to use is when you're walking with your puppy right now, your 6-foot leash that's in your starter is perfectly fine. Ideally, if you're somewhere where that's not where there's traffic, then you're going to use your 30-foot long line, and that's how you let your puppy feel that they have some freedom, that they have some ownership and control over their own life, but you still got control of them. because you're at the
Yeah.
other end of that long line. Okay,
Yep, thank you.
now when you,
Aaron and James.
oh, Aaron and James, you have a question too? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question about the hypoallergenic wipes. Are those ones that you can use to also clean the dog's ears, or do you have a special product that you typically use for that?
Generally speaking, we recommend you do not clean your puppy's ears because cleaning their ears is what tends to lead to infection because they get too wet, they get too moist, and when they're moist and they have floppy ears, that's how bacterial infections brew and come about. You should not have to wash your puppy's ears or clean them. Now, if your puppy gets into something, let's say they go and roll in something like mulch. This is one of Peanut's favorite things to do. She puts her head in mulch and she burrows into it. She rolls in circles and her ears get covered in dirt. So of course, then I have to clean her ears. If you're doing that, then the legendary natural one that we have at Curated Canines is the one that I recommend. It's all natural. It's very gentle on their ears. And the main thing you want to remember for that is that you use very little and you dry their ears out thoroughly after you clean them. For the wipes, though, you can wipe off the flap of their ear, Aaron, if you want to. So can you put the camera on this spot for a minute? So if you find that in this portion of their ear here, in the flap, if we've got dirt, you can take that wipe, absolutely. You can clean it off like this, but you do not put it in here into their ear canal. There is a product that, thanks. There is a product that's a finger wipe that fits over your finger that you can put into their ear canal to clean in there. That is a really great product. I'll find the link to it if everybody reminds me and send it to you. Otherwise, I'll probably forget. But they're really easy because you don't get too much yucky wetness. You just can stick them in the ear, give a quick wipe, and keep it cleaned out. If your dog is continually building up big blobs of gunk in their ear, if they get all yucky looking, then you want to talk to your vet and ask them about whether your dog's ears need to be plucked. We don't recommend that you get them plucked at the groomer. The groomer won't do a proper job. If you have a really hairy ear, then you'll want to have your vet do that under sedation. It is not a comfortable process for your dog, and that's why groomers don't like to do it. Vets also don't like to do it. 9 times out of 10, you aren't going to need to do it, but sometimes you will have an ALD that has such hairy ears that they do need to be done. One of my boys, my first boy checkers, he had to have his done because he just kept getting ear infections all the time. So we sedated him, we completely plucked out his ear right with all the way down, and he never got an ear infection again. So, but probably aren't going to need that. So back to the exercise when we're walking. One of the things we want to remember when we are walking and letting our puppy bebop around, make sure you've got your eyes open. You don't want them to be doing a lot of poop sniffing. Poop is how diseases are spread. So you want them to be sniffing the plants, or pee is okay, or just the ground or something like that. But ideally, we're going to make sure that they're not spending a lot of time with their feet or their noses in poop. All right, anybody got any questions for Adrian? Go ahead, Adrian.
I was just curious if there's plants that are maybe poisonous or certain things to stay away from.
Yeah, there's lots of poisonous plants for sure. You can Google and you'll get a listing of the most common ones that you might run into. One thing that at this time of the year, if you have tomato plants on your patio, the leaves of tomato plants are poisonous to dogs. Rhododendrons and azaleas, anything in that family are toxic, not poisonous. So that's something else to keep your puppy away from. We have all of these things at our place. The puppies run around free and they've never once been interested in eating those things, but of course we keep our eyes open. And if they're heading over to where the rhodos or the azaleas are, then we're distracting them and moving them off away from that. You're probably going to have something on your property. We had one family who got a dog. They had a tree whose droppings were potentially toxic. I can't remember the name of the tree. It was this gorgeous, beautiful tree. It was like the focal point of their backyard. And they cut the whole thing down because they got a puppy. You don't have to go to that extreme. You just have to be do a bit of vigilance. You may want to get an extra X pen or something to block an area off if you find your puppy is going into a danger zone a lot of the time. Jeremy.
When do you introduce the dogs to go into water? Like if you're to go to the beach or something like that, when would you make that decision? What age?
You can do that whenever you want. They've all been in a kid's water spray thing. They've all been in a pool. It's really just up to each individual dog when they decide they really love being in the water. Sometimes they take more than a year to decide they like water. Ripple wouldn't go in the water till she was about 3, and now she goes in quite readily. And Spirit is only started going in the last year and a half, and she's 8. Before that, she wouldn't have gone in no matter what. She would go, oh my gosh, no, I'm not gonna look, that's awful. But now she quite loves it. Anybody else got a question? Peter, did you have a question? Yeah, Kate, go ahead.
Sorry, we can't figure out how to get the hand up, so.
Oh,
I
that's
had
okay.
Two questions. One
Yeah.
goes back to when you said if they've been to a dog groomer or anything. Would a week be sufficient time to have had any problems come and gone?
Yeah, generally speaking, yes, you're going to know, yeah. And remember that parvo and distemper are your 2 biggest worries, and they're virtually eradicated in North America, well, at least in Canada and the States, especially in Canada. So the chances of running into it are quite slim. The highest risk you're going to find is if you know someone who has a quote unquote rescue dog. If that dog has come, if you have anyone who has a rescue dog, and especially if they just got it, that's somebody you don't want to be anywhere near at all, period. Give your dog not until they're 20 weeks old. Do you want to be anywhere near somebody who has, especially an imported one? Those are the dogs that are the most dangerous.
Another question, this is around not toxic plants, but speargrass.
Yeah.
We have an awful lot of it in our neighborhood.
We do too. Peanut just got a half a ton pulled out from between her toes. Again, this is another thing that's virtually impossible to avoid at this time of the year unless you're in a completely urban environment. It's very hard to avoid. It happens. It can get in their ears, in between their toes. If you've been out for a walk and you see your puppy picking their paw up or licking at it a lot or crying or going after their ears, chances are you have speargrass. If generally speaking, it's best to have the vet remove it. It can be almost invisible and it can be a little tricky to get out, and puppies are very squirmy. And it's hard. If I had it in my puppy, I would probably go to the vet. I would rather pay and have them look after it and worry about the squirmy puppy than me trying to deal with it. Plus, puppies don't enjoy that, and I prefer my puppies to have negative experiences with someone other than me. Anybody else got a question right now while we're going on that? No, good, okay. Now, the biggest playtime of all should be just before bed. You want to allow an hour before you want to be in bed to wear your puppy out with the biggest play of the day. They have a witching hour, and their witching hour is right around 9:30, 10 o'clock, right when you want to be going to bed, generally speaking. So if you go to bed at 10, at 9 o'clock, you want to start preparing for your puppy to go to bed. So you wake them up. This is the only time I suggest you ever wake them up. You wake them up, you go outside, you have a really big play. You chase them around the yard or around the house if it's pouring rain. Big plays up, get down on the floor, roll around, wrestle with them, just really get them going for a good 30 minutes. then you bring them inside and you start to let them wind down a bit. Then you do a few cuddles, you do a little quieter play, a couple of treats maybe. And this is when, if it's me with a puppy, this is when I go and I wash my face, I brush my teeth, I change into my pajamas, I got my book ready, take my vitamins. Then you pop them outside one more time for a pee. This is when you're now using your, oh, that's a good baby. Oh, it's tired, night, night, whatever cue word you're going to use, I use night, night. And then after they've had their pee, they come in, you pick them up, you put them in the crate, which is right beside your bed. You close the door and you get into bed too. If you're reading, I like to read at night and you leave a light on, your puppy might fuss around a bit. Because they are all in Head Start, they all learn lights out means go to bed. So when we turn the light out, usually that's when they stop making any sounds at all, and then they're all quiet. And that's it, but it's so important that you remember to do that big play. Otherwise, when you put them into bed, they're not going to be tired and they're not going to go to sleep. Right now, they go to bed around 10:30, 11. And they get up anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30, depending on when we wake up. And they will not need to go out. The Confetti Sprinkles puppies likely will sleep 6 hours. Bachi's puppies will likely be good for 7 to 8 hours. And that's just by virtue of their size difference. Noisettes are going to be in the middle there. As Belle's puppies are the smallest. So their bladder is the smallest, that's why they sleep a little less, but they will be able to sleep through the night without an issue. And just remember, the crate is only for bedtime sleeping. We don't use the crate during the day. During the day, you use your X pen and your donut bed. So you put the donut bed in the X pen. If you've got kids, grandkids, or another dog, so Kat, you're going to have to teach Finn this. When the puppy is in the X pen, nobody is permitted in there other than you. No kids, no other dogs. We want the puppy to learn this is their safe, protected space and where they're able to completely decompress and feel safe enough that they can go to sleep. So you put them in the X pen with their bed, a pee pad, a chew stick, a couple of toys, and that's it for when they're having their naps. Any questions on that? Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Where's the puppy sleep in relation to where our bed is? Do we have it in the same room? Do we have it in like the spare room right beside us, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, the puppy needs to be right beside your bed for the first 6 months.
For 6 months, okay.
Yeah, after the puppy's 6 months, you can decide whether or not they're gonna sleep in the crate, and usually if you open the door to their crate, they'll still stay in your bedroom. The reason you want them in the bedroom is, first of all, you wanna be right beside them in case they need you. And second of all, when you're sleeping, you give off pheromones. And when the puppy's sleeping, those pheromones are absorbed, and that helps to build your bond and have the puppy learn that you are now your puppy's family as opposed to us being their family.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
one more question. So they start making a whimper or make a sound. When is the right time to actually go to them versus giving them time to make that decision?
So if they're just talking, you just put your hand on the crate. You just go, hey, it's okay, I'm right here. Just put your fingers through, they'll usually give you a little lick or a little chew, and you say, there you go, it's all good. It's only, if they gotta go to the bathroom, you'll know it's a completely different cry. If they're really upset and they're starting to amp up and get hysterical, you open the door, you pick them up, comfort them, put them back in. Don't let them cry it out, if you will. But at the same time, if they're just like, oh, you don't let them out for that. You just go, hey, it's okay. You might get that, like if you roll over in the night or you get up to go to the bathroom in the night, you may find your puppy also wakes up and does a little whimper, and it's 2, 3, 4 in the morning when you don't want to get up. So you just do, hey, it's okay, I'm right here. It's not hitting me so much. And you just leave it at that, and they'll just go right back to sleep. everyone with a puppy starter kit, your puppy will be used to sleeping with a sleeping buddy, and that sleeping buddy will of course be part of your puppy starter kit, so that they have a friend to sleep with. Who you part, Summit's family. Hello, Summit's family. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
All right, wrong button. Talking about nap times, how often should we be kind of like scheduling a nap?
They
Is it
will-
puppy directed, or is it,
Yes.
you know, okay.
Yeah, it's puppy directed. We've had a couple of families who've had whiteboards with schedules for their puppies. Both of those families have returned their puppies because they weren't able to cope with a puppy directed schedule. It is going to have to be a puppy directed schedule, at least for the first 6 months. General schedule though is they wake up, you take them out, they're gonna go outside and play. They come in, they eat breakfast, quick play outside, they come in. If you're working, if you have a home office, that's when they're gonna be in the X pen in the office. They'll entertain themselves and then they'll sleep. Repeat at lunch, repeat at dinner. So they have a good nap after breakfast, before lunch, after lunch, before dinner, after dinner, before bed. They still sleep a lot.
Hey, thank you.
Anybody else got any questions about that? Okay, great. The other thing, you wanna do for the first few days after you have your puppy home, all your friends and family want to come and meet your puppy, you wanna show your puppy off. Try to hold off for the first 2 days. Ideally, don't have anybody over at all, just you, so that your puppy, because you gotta remember, this is like taking a 2-year-old baby from their family and putting them in foster care, if you will. They have no idea where they are, they can't talk yet enough to communicate, and they're in this completely foreign world, and they're like, oh my goodness, what has happened here? So you don't wanna bombard them with a whole bunch of different people and different voices, blah, 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 blah. You want to keep it nice and quiet, relaxed, and your task, your primary goal is to build that bond with your puppy. Don't worry about having them sit for a treat or any of the other things. What you want is to establish a regular routine, regular times for doing things, a regular place to pee, the door to go out of, where their meals are served, what time, and get to know you. So you want to spend a lot of time, so you'll see all of my puppies have gone to sleep. Clearly, I'm superior.
That's because they were outside playing
Oh,
before the Zoom meeting.
That's right. Shh, Reynolds, you're not supposed to say that.
Well, that's the example of playing hard and then sleeping.
Yeah, it is a good example. These guys did go out for a good play beforehand. So when you've got your puppy, you're still awake, I'm going to use you. You want to do a lot of this. You want to hold your puppy up near your neck. Rock. Talk in a nice soft voice. If you thought baby talk to a puppy, it's proven scientifically that puppies respond very well to baby talk. So please don't feel silly talking baby. It's perfectly fine, and you'll do it naturally anyways. And it's one of the things that really works to soothe them. So you see just a couple of rocks and some kisses, and we've already got a puppy who's going, and that's what you want to do, because this is what you want to have going on with your puppy. You want your puppy to learn to trust you, respect you, believe in you, because they don't have any reason when they first go home with you to trust that you're going to care for them. They know us. They've known us since the first moment they came into the world. So of course they trust us. We don't have to work really hard at that. They don't really have too much choice. But when you go with you, you need to get them to learn how to do that. So lots of snuggles and cuddle time. Don't worry about all the learning to sit and say please and all the other rigmarole. You got lots of time for that. They're not gonna go backwards. They're not going to become heathens if you don't do it immediately. They'll all be fine. For all of you who have read through Sophia Yin's book, when she suggests that your dog should not eat out of a bowl and that they should learn to earn. That doesn't work with ALDs. ALDs do not have a good, strong food drive. And so all you're doing is creating a bit of chaos. You want to have some really scheduled routines for getting your puppy to eat. This is when you eat, the food goes down for 10-15 minutes. If you don't eat it, that's it, it goes away. No questions asked and no exceptions to that. Otherwise, you're going to develop a princess dog who's, oh, war is going on. A princess dog who's going to ask that you feed them by hand and that they have a special plate and on and on and on and on. And that's not good for the dog, and it's certainly a waste of your time. Unless you really like doing that. I mean, if you like doing that, by all means, but generally speaking, that's probably not your first choice for how you want to do things in your life going forward. Oh, somebody's got a question, sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Claire, the audio when you were just speaking about keeping your puppy away from other dogs and people, the audio at the beginning just squelched. So how much time was that? Was it like 2 weeks? I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Sorry, just for the first couple of days.
Okay.
Okay.
Maria?
Yeah, if you put the food out for the dog and they don't take it for the first 10-15 minutes, like you said, if you just put that like in the fridge, will the food keep until their next meal to use that again? Or is it kind of like a write-off or what?
You can keep the food in the fridge for 3 days.
Okay,
So you
perfect.
got lots of time there for it to be okay. Yeah. And that'll come in your food box instructions. It tells you all about that, how long things are good for, et cetera, et cetera. So main thing, you need to teach your puppy you've got their back, that they can trust you, bond with you, that you have a nice, quiet beginning to life with your puppy, and then slowly introduce them to the rest of the people in your world, and just try and make sure you tell all your friends and family before they come over, you know, this is how we're doing things. If you've decided your puppy's not going on the furniture, make sure anybody who comes over knows they have to sit on the floor to interact with the puppy. If you're doing this in a chair with a puppy, like I'm holding this puppy, if you do this in the chair, you've taught your puppy that being on the furniture is okay. So if you don't want your puppy on your furniture, sit on the floor when you're doing everything with your puppy. Well, I can see Bachi is joining us back there. Hi, Bachi. If you've got another dog, so for Finn and for Bachi and Milo and for Star, what you want to do is make sure you are rewarding the dogs already in your family the most when they are around the puppy. So whenever they're with the puppy, that's when you give them bonus attention, bonus treats. You don't want them to learn that when they're away from the puppy is when you focus on them. That's sort of what you might think naturally is that, oh, I'll take Finn or Star or Bachi out for a special treat. That's the opposite, because you want your existing dog to associate being with the puppy with something positive, not the other way around. If your existing dog growls at the puppy, please don't get mad at your existing dog. Just say, oh my goodness, Finn, that's not very hospitable. Something like that. All of you with your Head Start program, your puppies will have already been around Ripple and Spirit who have growled their heads off at them. That's how they learn appropriate behavior with other dogs. But you do not want to punish your dog for growling. That's just your dog telling the puppy, hey, my house, my rules, back away, buckwheat. Let them do that, because you always want them to be able to communicate. You want to be able to give your dog some ownership in their lives, because face it, we control every second of our dog's lives. So things like letting them have a loose leash and sniffing, or being able to communicate with a growl without being reprimanded, are all really important to give your dog some fulfillment into emotionally, not intellectually. It's not something that we used to ever even think about, but it does help your dog have a more fulfilled life when they feel that they have some control over it. But yeah, and then the other thing is when you're out with your puppy and you're going for a walk, or you're at Winners, or you're at Home Depot, wherever you can take your puppy, if you've got them in your pup pack or in the buggy, and people come swarming over and go, oh, I want to meet your puppy, I want to meet your puppy. If you have a whole bunch of people doing that, you don't want your puppy to be totally overwhelmed and going, oh God, what is happening? What you want to do is show your puppy, here, I'm here to protect you and nothing bad will happen to you. So you just say to people, I'd love for you to meet my puppy. By the way, can I give you a treat to offer to them? And please don't approach them by putting your hand on their head. Please go off to the side and under their chin, because a bunch of people coming up like this in your face is very disconcerting, especially if you're a baby. If your puppy's going like this, if they're doing anything to show you that they don't want to do that, turn around, give your back to the human and say, sorry, he's not really in the mood right now, maybe another time. You have to be an advocate and the voice for your puppy, because they can't do it. You do that and you will have so many rewards, because your puppy will never ever forget that you're there protecting them and that they can trust you. And that, more than anything, gets your puppy to do what you want them to do. So Ripple and I have a very close relationship. I don't have to speak to her. I can just look at her. She knows what I want, what I'm saying, because that's how she's grown up, knowing that I'm there to protect her. She doesn't enjoy such a close relationship with Reynolds. And so whenever Reynolds asks her to do something, she does not. And she runs around to look for me and then asks me, so do I have to do what Dad said? So keep that in mind. Make sure you both share equally if there's two of you in the bond building with your puppy. Otherwise, you're going to get one that listens to one of you and not the other you. If you've got kids, make sure your kids are doing this too. There's no reason why your kids cannot protect your dogs from anything they don't want as well. Can you just give me back my list? Because I know I've forgotten something. I think that we're just about finished on everything here. You're probably tired of listening to me. Adrian, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering about treats. Like, is there a certain brand, or is that also provided at the beginning? And yeah.
Yeah, that'll all be in your food box. It will be a combination of high, low, and medium value treats. So when you're in class, you have all three of those. Those three different ones are important for training. They're all the ones that your puppy's eating now, so it's not going to upset their stomach. It's all the things that they like. You should see them at night when Reynolds puts them to bed. The first thing he does is he cleans up the room, washes the floor, we get everything ready. They're outside, then he whistles for them to come in, and they know that there'll be treats. He throws the treats on the floor and they just hoover them all up. So that's really good way to get them to come in. If you can whistle, your dog will come to you every time, because they all come to Reynolds' whistle. I cannot whistle. If you can't whistle, then beep, 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 works really well. Whoops, I'm waking them up. Sorry, it's okay. Nothing's happening. It's just me. Good, you can go back to sleep. So that's all you need to do when they wake up, by the way. Jonathan.
Go.
I'm just wondering about where to get the long caterpillar.
That's in the other crate.
That's in your puppy, it'll be in your puppy starter kit.
Oh, beauty.
Oh, great. The really long one, though, not the
one behind you, Claire, over in the corner. The other corner.
that the young lady's
that one.
holding.
This one. Yeah, that's in the puppy starter kit.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Beauty.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, all the puppy starter kit, everybody gets a caterpillar because it's something that works for all the puppies. There's some toys in the puppy starter kit that everybody gets all the time because they're tried and true and they just work for everyone. And then the rest of the toys in there are all curated for your puppy. So what you've already picked up, Jonathan, is the first part of your puppy starter kit, but it doesn't have the toys, the pee pads, the blanket, and I think that's it. I think you got everything. And you didn't get your crate because we didn't have them when you got yours. So your crate and your X pen as well. All right, so last thing. Oh, there's Star. Hi, Star. Hi, Star. Hi, Star. Last thing is for taking your puppy home. Pardon me? Oh, Batsy. There's Batsy. Hi, Batsy. Hi. Your babies are here. Yes, your babies are all here. They're all sleeping. Not like you. Taking your puppy home. There's Star. Hi, Star. Two people, please, to pick your puppy up so that somebody's driving and somebody's holding the puppy. This is your first chance to do that snuggling around the neck. Let your puppy start getting used to your scent and the feel of your body. It's the warmth of you next to them that's going to provide them with that comfort when they leave home and they go in your car. The first bit of reality there. And please, before you come, figure out who gets to hold the puppy and who's driving. I don't do family law anymore, so I'm not going to handle your divorce. And if you've got kids, you don't want them having some freaking out episode in the back seat over who gets the puppy. Not the good first impression. So work that all out as to who it is, split it up or whatever you want to do, however it works for you. You're not going to use your booster seat that's in your puppy starter kit on the drive home. You're just going to hold your puppy. This is the only time you're going to hold your puppy, but it's really important the first time. You may, your puppy blanket will be in your puppy starter kit. You all get a puppy blanket. You can put that on your lap if you want, or you can bring an old towel, whatever. Sometimes they get upset. Sometimes they might spit up. Sometimes they might have a little bit of a pee. Highly unlikely, but don't wear your white silk shirt and pants, please, because puppies are not too good at recognizing that you have your high designer fashions on, and plus they'll choose something as well. Another tip, if you're a woman, tie your hair back, don't wear dangly earrings or a necklace, because those will be the first things that they decide to chew on. You'll see I have no earrings, no necklace, and I certainly don't have my white silk shirt on. Actually don't have one. So those are all the things to remember for the trip home. If you're going on the ferry, don't worry that there's a long wait time between when you pick the puppy up and when you go on the ferry. Kat, we will have you bring Finn and you can spend time in the backyard with Finn and the puppy so that they're on neutral ground and they get to meet each other before you're in the car. Kathy as well, if you want to bring Bachi and Milo, that's totally fine. Same for you, Michelle, if you want to bring Star. We'll just work that all out so that you have some time where you're doing this on neutral ground. Taylor is here and she'll help give you some tips as well for introducing the new puppy. Kathy, I know you already know because you've already been through this once because you're on your third puppy now, but you can maybe do the training session actually. We'll hire you to do that. But if you've got this time between the ferry, this is a great time for you to spend just getting to know your puppy. If you have an SUV, fold the seats down, sit in the back with your puppy, put a pee pad down in the back, just hang out there while you're in the ferry lineup. You can put a pee pad down on the tarmac for them to go to the bathroom on. You just want to avoid that pet area. And when it's really hot outside, the other thing to keep in mind, you have to feel that pavement. If it's hot on your hand, it's going to scald your puppy's paws, so you don't want to be walking around on there. You don't want them outside in the heat, obviously. Better to be inside the vehicle with the air conditioning going. And don't feel bad that you're turning your vehicle on in the lineup if you need to have your air conditioning on for your puppy. If you're just going home, if you're just driving home, your puppy will just probably fall asleep in your arms. Anywhere between here and Campbell River, you won't have to stop. Your puppy will just be asleep and they won't have to stop and go to the bathroom on the way. They'll be good for up to a 3-hour drive. Any other questions before we finish up? Anybody else think of anything else? Oh, Trupanion, right, Reynolds reminded me about insurance. You'll get a certificate for 30 days free insurance, which is, we're not affiliated with Trupanion at all. They're just the ones who happen to offer that as a clever marketing technique. We do ask though that you do activate that before your puppy is picked up, please, so that we know your puppy has coverage when you pick your puppy up from us. So often puppies are squirming. It's an exciting day. They fall. We've had puppies break their legs, all sorts of things that have happened. So we want to make sure that the puppy is protected and that it's not going to cost you anything for the puppy to go and get fixed up if something happens. Whether you decide to keep with them or not, I'd say take that first 30 days or now in between pickup day and just look at all the different companies there are and what they do and don't offer. Each of them is a little bit different. Trupanion runs around $75 a month roughly. It depends on your postal code. Make sure they know it's an Australian Labradoodle that you have. If you tell them you have a Labradoodle, it will cost more because that's a different breed of dog. And if you tell them you have an Aussie Doodle, which is something entirely different, it will cost you even more. So make sure you've got the right breed for your dog there. But check them all out, see which one you like. And generally, if you can easily find $10,000, you're not going to be upset about it being taken out of your account. You can put it right back in again. You probably don't need insurance. If you don't have easy access to $10,000, or it's really going to make you cry if you have to spend it and take a long time to put it back, you're probably better off with the insurance. The average emergency room visit is about $6,500. And it's a lot of them are way more than that. One of our families from way back when, their dog is 17 and got cancer at 16 and a half, and they were able to do chemotherapy for the dog. They had Trupanion. The total cost was $185,000 and it was all paid for by Trupanion. And it gave the dog another 14 months of comfortable life. So they felt that the premiums they paid were worth it to get that for their dog. Totally a personal decision as to what you're comfortable with. It's really just risk management. And that I think is it, unless somebody else has a question.
Jeremy had one.
Oh, Jeremy, did you have a question?
Well, just one thing we're doing is purchasing baby gates, obviously, to protect anywhere for them to go. When do they start jumping high enough that that's a concern, or how high can they jump?
That varies from puppy to puppy. Ripple can jump about 5 feet. Spirit can jump about 8 inches. So it depends on the dog. And generally speaking, they will not jump over a baby gate. The X pens that we have in the puppy starter kit these are shorter. The one that you'll get in a starter kit is 30 inches. That's generally what we like to see for keeping the puppy contained. But for baby gates, I don't believe that you have an option for the height that they come in. And dogs generally are not jumping over a baby gate. The thing, we have baby gates that are pressure, what's the right word, Brenna? They're pressure mounted, they don't screw into the wall. So in one location we have them, if the dogs are together, the 3 of them, and they're really determined, they can break it down. They can knock it off because it's not mounted permanently into the wall. But that doesn't regularly happen. But certainly Ripple can jump over the baby gate, but she never would. When your puppy's a puppy, they're not going to, and then that's up to you to be sure you've taught your puppy that that's not acceptable behavior. Anything else? Anybody's got anything else? Is anybody excited? Nope, nobody, so I get to keep them all? Terrific. Okay, end the meeting. If you think of anything else between now and pickup day, don't hesitate to ask. Kim, I'm not sure if you are here or not, because I know you don't have a microphone and we've got one person that isn't identified here, but Kim, you were asking me if your training class didn't start within the parameters that are laid out in the contract. If it's within a couple of days, that's not a problem. The main thing is that all of the puppies need to be started in a puppy socialization class within 10 days of going home. That's the most important one. The second one, when you're doing a manners class, which we recommend you do around when your puppy's 6 months, that's more up to you as to when you want to do that, just as long as you do that. But the socialization class does have that specific time requirement because your puppy's window for socialization is closing. And it's really important that they do that right from when you get them home. Yeah, go ahead, Emery. There you go.
We get our puppy on the Monday, and then I couldn't get into the vet till the Friday, and I know it's supposed to be 3 days. Do I need to try and change that?
So your 3 days starts when Taylor takes your puppy, so the 3 days will be with Taylor. So you would have to have Taylor take the puppy to the vet within 3 days of leaving here. So what this 3-day warranty covers is that when you pick the puppy up from us, they don't have parvo, distemper, fleas, mites, any parasites. And the reason the 3-day limit is there is because once you have the puppy, or Taylor in this case has your puppy, Anne-Marie, we no longer have any control over them. We are not able to say we can guarantee that that's not there anymore. All of those things that we protect your puppy against or we warrant against for the first 3 days would show up within 3 days after you pick them up from here. After that, it will be something the puppy had been exposed to once you had care and control of them. So that's up to Taylor, because Taylor's the one who's going to have care and control of your puppy, and you're getting your puppy from Taylor. And as far as I know, Taylor does not provide a 3-day warranty like we do. And if you got Taylor to take the puppy to be checked, it would only be checked again by our own vet. So that might be a bit of a waste of your money, because it would be the exact same vet seeing the puppy again and saying, yes, I just certified the puppy's okay, but yes, I'm certifying it, yes, the puppy's okay.
Okay.
So what Taylor does with your puppy is between you and Taylor, not between us.
Okay.
Jonathan? You just have to unmute yourself.
We can't get into our socialization classes till the end of August, but we need to be able to contact Taylor. Are you able to give out a contact for her, or should we do this privately?
Nope, Taylor's happy for everyone to have her contact info. Have you got a pen?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, Taylor's number is 250
Hold on,
250.
Yep,
710
710
9916.
9916. Okay,
Thanks, Claire.
250-710-9916.
Yeah.
You got it.
Excellent.
Perfect. Maria?
With regards to, like, you guys do their first rounds of vaccinations.
That's correct.
Which week do you do that, just so we know, like, when we're talking to our vets, when we need to book their next one?
So you all got an email when the puppies were having their wellness exams that told you what we would be checking for,
Mhm.
and letting you know what the date was for that. So
Oh,
then
okay, I must have just missed that one. Perfect.
4 weeks from that is the next set, and then 4 weeks after that's the final set.
Okay.
One other thing for everybody, if any of you ever do decide in the future you want to go to the US, and rules may change because they have already changed somewhat, but right now you do have to know when your dog was microchipped. Your dog does have to be microchipped, and they do have to have a rabies vaccination. So your dogs were all microchipped on the same day that they had their wellness exam. So when you got the email for the wellness exam, that tells you all about what we do at the wellness exam, what's being looked at. That's the date that your dog was microchipped. When you come to pick your puppy up, you'll get their health passport. And in the health passport will be barcodes for their microchip number. So you will always be able to have that in the future if you have to do some jump through some of these hoops that CDC is requiring us to jump through now. Erin?
I think that last bit probably answered my question, but our puppy kindergarten class requires us to provide proof of vaccination, at least the first round, like prior to, so we have to email it in. But if it's all in the health passport upon pickup, that should be easy to send.
Yep, yeah, you could just scan that without any problem. Anybody else got anything? Nope, we're all good. Terrific. You guys, you had great questions. That was all really good. And like I said, if anything else comes up, and I think we got it all sorted out, everybody feels confident now for the take-home process and the first few days? Everybody's good on that, got that all in their heads, feel comfortable? All right, okay, if anything else comes up, you know how to find me. Thanks for joining us, I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that they're all so wild. We put them all to sleep. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.